The BBC presents My Music, a musical panel game devised by Edward J. Mason and Tony Schreier. And here's Steve Race to introduce the team.
Good evening. My Music is back, and so are David Franklin and Frank Muir, competing in musical knowledge against Ian Wallace and Denis Norden. We begin with a round of orchestral music. For a mark each, can you give me, please, the name of the composer and the title of the piece, beginning, as ever, with David Franklin. David Franklin.
You know, Frank and I won the last two programmes of the last series by phenomenally wide margins. We're going to stop all that tonight.
You must know.
Well, it's an Italian composer?
No, but I don't blame you. It's an early work when the particular composer wasn't sounding very much like his later self, I always think. Well, I'll give you the composer and you give me the composition, or the other way round, whichever you prefer.
Well, you give me the piece and I'll give you the composer.
You're no fool, are you? Yes. The Overture to Rienzi.
It isn't Wagner.
It is?
Oh, come.
Got his haircut different.
For 1 mark out of 2. Well, we're away. We've got a mark to start with. And some music for Denis Norden.
If it hadn't been Our Love, I wouldn't have known it was Tchaikovsky, if you know what I mean.
It's 1 mark, anyway. And the title?
I don't know. Our Love.
Well, that may be your title. That wasn't Tchaikovsky's title by several years.
It was Count Tchaikovsky.
Mm.
It didn't make you think of Montagues and Capulets, did it, by any chance?
Well, it's Romeo and Juliet, yeah?
You don't expect a mark, do you?
No, I don't.
Oh, no, 1 mark, Tchaikovsky. It was the fantasy overture, Romeo and Juliet. Ian Wallace, one for you.
That awful moment that comes to so many people who play cricket when they appear out of the pavilion to an encouraging applause, walk to the wicket, take guard, look round the entire field, confidently nod that they are ready. The bowler bowls a very simple ball, and the middle stump is flying, cartwheeling through the air. That is my situation. I haven't the slightest idea.
Googly Wallace, they call it. Would you like to try for the composer? You'll probably be right.
No.
Right. The Emperor Concerto by Beethoven. Piano Concerto number 5 in E-flat major, part of. No marks, I'm afraid, and Frank Muir's turn.
As far as I'm concerned, it's either David Rose's Stripper or Bach's Air on a G-string.
Which would you opt for?
It's Bach. It's Air on a G-string.
I have to give you 2 marks there. He never knew it as that, you know.
No, well, the David was muttering all through the piece. It's a movement from Suite number 3, I think, in C.
In D, actually. It's the air from the Suite number 3 in D major by Bach, the second movement, arranged in the key of C as air for or on the G string. You may get 2 marks there, very good. And we move on to the next round. A round of tunes in which a creature is mentioned, be it animal, fish, bird, or whatever. For 2 marks, can you identify the creature? And an extra 3rd mark for guessing the performer concerned, who also technically, I suppose, is a creature. Anyway, 2 marks for the animal or whatever, 1 mark for the performer. Begin with David Franklin. And there we leave you and ask you what the creature was.
I haven't come to the tune bit. That was the middle 9.
Yes.
It was a piano,
Yes.
and my guess is
Mr. Conway.
Wilfred Conway.
Mr. Conway. Really? It was Ross Conway?
Yes, Ross Conway. I'll give you that mark, yes. And the title of the song, do you know, The Beast... It's a tautological title, I might say.
A tautological title.
Yes.
The animal connection is, I know that.
Well, it's the animal I want, actually.
Was an elephant.
No, sorry.
Or the ivory keys.
All right, then, 1 mark for ingenuity. Horsey was the tautological title I had in mind. The creature, therefore, being the horse, and we press on rapidly to a beast of some kind for Denis.
When I was out wriggling through the dew, the gardener's spade cut me in two. I felt so silly, it made me laugh, saying good night to my better half.
Difficult one, this.
Yes. About time, because I'm going to pull down all the opera and so on. This is Arthur Askey.
Yes, a remark.
I believe it... I don't know this song of his, but wriggling along the ground, being cut in half by the gardener's spade. Is it a worm?
Well, it's not the bee, is it?
No.
Yes, it's the worm for the other 2 marks. 3 in all for you. And Ian, your turn.
Oh, yes. Ugly Duckling.
Yes, that's 2
And
marks.
it would have been Danny Kaye if we'd heard him.
Well, it's funny, this question, because you never even heard the people concerned. I'll tell you what, I'll give you half and you get the other half for a mark,
I see,
right?
yes, all right.
Pinky.
And Perky.
Thank you. That's a mark.
That was very difficult, Ian. Well done.
And we move on to Frank Muir.
They all went sailing across the lake. They all went sailing across the lake, and they got swallowed up by a big black snake.
Frank, who's that?
I think it's John Pertwee.
Yes, and the song, the creature.
Could it be a duck-billed platypus?
It could.
Half a mark.
You don't know the creature, I'm afraid, do you?
Not at the moment.
Nor your partner, no?
I know him, but I don't know the
The audience knows, don't you? What was the creature? It was a frog. So I'm afraid that's you don't get the extra mark there, but you did know John Pertwee, so that's 1. The next round, a round of musical terms and technicalities for 2 marks. David, we all know Handel's Largo. What is a largo, and where does this one come from? Handel's
I
Largo.
can help you there.
Largo is a slow movement.
Yes.
And this one comes, I think, from an opera.
Go through the alphabet backwards.
Go through the alphabet backwards. So something beginning with Z?
No.
Y?
No.
X.
Yes.
Oh, Xanthus?
Oh, no.
Wait a minute, there's another one. Xerxes.
A mark for largo meaning slow, large, broad, spacious. Half a mark for reaching Xerxes in the end. Denis, what is English fingering, and how does it differ from continental fingering?
It's obviously some musical... I think it's some musical instrument which you play with your fingers, and the continentals drive on the right of the keyboard and the English on the left, or perhaps not. Well, it's something to do with the piano.
Yes, that's a mark out of the 2 anyway.
And English people finger pianos differently. They leave all dirty finger marks.
Which finger they call as number one?
Thank you, Ian. Yes, which finger they call number one and which finger they call number... I would think that I know what the contest is. They call the thumb number one, don't they?
You've got your 2 marks, Dennis. That's good enough. I think continental fingering counts the thumb as number one.
Oh.
English, now obsolete, fingering counts the thumb as a cross and the forefinger as number one. Very good. You got your marks. 2 marks there. Ian, what is a stroke zither?
It's an Austrian rowboat.
Well, but I suppose there's a 2-stroke zither. And a stroke zither is a smaller one. Well, obviously, to be more serious, after having
let's be that.
Just to, that gave me time to think. An ordinary type of zither, you play with little sort of things that look...
Lollipops.
yes. Sort of chopsticks with a little hook on the end of them, or little hammers, whereas a stroke zither, you play with the fingers, the hands, with either English or continental fingering, according to how you like it.
Yes, if you think you're getting 2 marks for that, you're out of your mind. In a very curious way, you really couldn't be more wrong. The instrument that's played with lollipops, you said, Frank, is the cymbalum or cimbalum or something. A zither is played with the fingers or with a plectrum coupled to the fingers. Yes. A stroke zither is played with a violin bow, stroked with a bow.
You can't do that.
What? Stroke a zither with a bow?
Yeah, because all the strings are flat. You can only play the bottom string or the top string, or all together.
But I think I might get half a mark by saying that they have a bow that has a curious sort of shape like that.
That's clever. That's clever.
Yes, it has a sort of strut halfway along the bow, which makes the catgut go out like that.
And it only bows one string at a time.
That's right, yes.
And you put the thing on a wheel and kind of revolve it, don't you?
No, I'm not going to go that far with you. I'm bluffing, but not to the extent of ridiculousness.
I will gladly pay you half a mark to leave this subject here.
I'll accept it.
And ask Frank Muir, so it's a half a mark there, ask Frank Muir a question. Frank, why would a stroke zither player have his colophony in his hand?
Because he was surprised before he had time to put it away.
I'll give you a mark for that.
Oh, really, wait a minute. He's got the zither in one hand and this bent catgut in the other. So he's a three-handed zither player to start with. It makes the whole thing rather bizarre, Grace.
Well, yes, when you're three-handed, you need colophony more than most people, don't you? Let's face it.
Colophon's the thing at the end of a book.
Drawing. It's like a little drawing.
Yes, the boy's right. I mean, printers insignia. If you look at incunabula, the early days of printing, they all have a colophon. The information was then transferred to the front of the book, around about 16.
Give me an example.
1600.
Yeah, right. Well, in 1601, evidently, colophony became resin. I think 1 mark is enough there for you. Let's have a look at the score, just for interest. David Franklin and Frank Muir are trailing Ian Wallace and Denis Norden by 2 marks. Next round, music from opera. 3 marks here, a chance to get ahead. 1 for the opera, 1 for its composer, and a 3rd mark for the title of the aria or perhaps chorus. David.
It's a double-barreled name in the title, isn't it, of the opera?
No. This may have been one of the songs your mother taught you. That's
yes,
a kind of a hint.
I knew it was by him.
Who?
Dvorak.
Yes, there's a mark. Title
yes.
of the aria. I wouldn't say it was a very famous opera, but perhaps rather a well-known aria.
Yes, I know, but I can't think of its name.
It goes up like a rocket.
Well, I must tell you the name of the aria, O Silver Moon.
Yes.
Do you, for the third, not know the opera?
I will in 10 seconds. Get out the cards a bit.
I'm afraid not. Russalka.
Yes.
Russalka, the opera by Dvorak. That's 1 mark out of 3. Denis Norden, your turn.
If you just give Steve, if we take it as a general rule that if you can't foxtrot to it, I don't know. And I was just slipped a hint by Ian, which sounded so complicated. Could you say it?
I don't give it with any great confidence, but I thought it might have possibly been a Swore Angelica.
Swore Angelica. Or another flavour, actually.
That's not the flavour of my mum.
It's not the flavour on your bit of paper.
Sister Angelica.
Yes,
Oh.
yes. By Puccini.
No, not Puccini.
Oh.
Sisters might, in a sense, have something to do with it, though. Wonder if the audience knows what it is. Yes, it's the Nuns' Chorus. That would have been 1 mark from... Dennis? No.
Ask the audience. I mean,
In a monastery garden.
Inspired thought, Frank, but no. From Casanova by Johann Strauss II. No marks there. I'm afraid, Ian, your turn.
Act 3.
Ooh, big stuff, yes.
Nabucco.
Yes.
Verdi.
Yes. And the title of the piece? Chorus?
The chorus is called Va Pensiero.
Is it?
Yes.
Who sings it, Ian?
Well, it is
Help
sung by the Hebrews on the banks of the Euphrates, singing of their ravaged land.
That's very good of you, because it says here, Chorus of the Hebrew Slaves. Thank you, yes. Fine. 3 marks.
I shall never do it as well as that again.
Frank, there's a general consensus of opinion that it's time you had a ridiculously easy one.
It's sung by a lady in the play called Cabbage White. Japanese name, Madame Butterfly. She sings this beautiful aria about an English summer. Or One Fine Day. The opera is by Signor Puccini.
And you knew that without any help from David for once, didn't you?
Absolutely, no help at all.
3 marks.
People saying, butterfly, butterfly. Face gorged with pride at knowing the answer.
What I actually said was it's butterfly.
Music from the films. For 2 marks, the title of the film, please, and a third bonus mark if you can say who starred in it. David Rector.
Sound of Music, Julie Andrews, 2 marks.
Dennis Norden.
The corner Cartiers too.
I don't.
And I don't. 'Cause all I want is you.
High society with lots of people. Frank Sinatra and Celeste Holm and Bing Crosby
That's marvellous. It's 2 for the title of the film, High Society, and 1 for the name of the star, total 3. Incidentally, you cheated yourself, David, just now by saying 2 marks. You should have got 3.
I'm sorry, I made a mistake. Franklin, 3 marks.
Yes, let that be a lesson to you. Yes, 3 marks to you and, of course, to Dennis as well, and Ian Wallace's turn.
Can. Frank Sinatra, probably.
Yes, again.
And
Louis Jourdain and Maurice Chevalier. Yes, anyway, 3 marks there, and Frank's turn.
Lawrence of Arabia.
Is the name of the film for 2 marks, yes, and the name of one of the stars.
George Sands. Peter O'Toole, Omar Sharif, Alec Guinness.
Oh, yes, you've got your 3 marks. All right. Lawrence of Arabia. And now, your singing bits. Graham Dalley will play bits of popular or traditional tunes. You are invited to carry on singing them with, please, the words. Up to 3 marks can be earned in this round. So, first of all, David Franklin, here's a bit for you.
What a beautiful evening. Everything's coming my way.
It's 2.5 marks, because everything's going my way. 2.5 marks.
It all depends on your point of view.
Well, from where I sit, everything's going my way. Dennis, your turn.
Isn't it? No, it's Scatterbrain. What were the words of that? You're delightful as the hunting and as charming as the rain. Isn't it a pity that you're such a scatterbrain? When you talk, you're so delightful. When you talk, when you smile, you're so delightful.
Right.
When you talk, you're so insane. Still, it's charming chatter, scatterbrain.
Yes, you can foxtrot to that, can't you? 3 marks.
I can foxtrot to the 6 o'clock news.
Ian, your song is in some heathen lingo, but see how you get on with it.
Words, please. It comes from my side of the border,
yes.
And it's called Colour Heron. By my colour heron, and some heron. Oh, very good. British Grenadiers. We'll do that high bit.
How many marks would you think you earned, Denny? And perhaps 1.
I was going to say 2.
I think Mach 1.
I think you're right. 1.
It's out of 10.
1. And some singing for and from Frank Muir.
Bewitched, bothered, and bewildered. Am I?
I couldn't sleep. I shouldn't sleep. I tried to sleep, but couldn't sleep. Just a peep. Bewitched, bothered, and bewildered. Am I?
Oh, I think that's 2 out of 3. And I'm afraid that's the end of my music. The result this week gives us a win by 2.5 marks for David Franklin and Frank Muir. Good night.
Taking part in My Music were David Franklin, Frank Muir, Denis Norden, and Ian Wallace. Graham Dalley was at the keyboard, and the chairman was Steve Race. The questions were compiled by Edward J. Mason, and the program was produced in London by Tony Schreier. A musical panel game devised by Edward J. Mason and Tony Schreier. And here's Steve Race to introduce the team.
So, another My Music. On my right, Denis Norden, partnered by Ian Wallace. On my left, Frank Muir and his partner, David Franklin. With David Franklin we begin. David, classical or perhaps light classical music, which I'm sure you will know. 1 mark for the composer, 1 for the title.
I would prefer that you face the truth now, Steve. Your confidence that I should know both it and the composer was sadly misplaced. I've no idea.
I think this is slightly difficult. It's from Coppelia Ballet. 1 mark, Frank, if you can tell me the composer.
Me?
No, sorry, David.
David.
Delibes, yes. There's your 1 mark. The waltz La Poupée from Coppelia Ballet. 1 mark out of 2 legs. It was a rather difficult one, but this is easy for Denis Norden.
I really don't know, Steve. I'm ashamed. And all
So
that
you
kind
never
of...
saw Fantasia by Walt Disney?
Yes, I saw Fantasia.
Well, this is the calm after the storm bit. This is.
Oh, I know. It's Beethoven's Pastoral Symphony.
Well, I'd better give you 2 marks, I suppose. Yes, not the E off Pastoral. I think Pastoral Symphony. Symphony number 6 in F major from the last movement. Yes, by Beethoven. All right, then, 2 marks. Ian, let's see if you know what this is.
First round always gives me a most terrible feeling of apprehension and cold sweat. But I think that is a minuet by Paderewski.
No, I'm afraid it's not. The composer Chopin, he called it his prelude in A major.
Oh,
it was
yes.
28 number 2, but it occurred later on in the ballet des Sylphides. I'm afraid that isn't any marks.
Oh, no.
And a difficult one, I think, for Frank Muir.
We, as Miss Franklin and I think it's got something to do with the river.
Yes, you're coming. You're going to get it.
Oh, is it?
You're going to get it. If you can pronounce it.
Try on. Oh, yes, it's a Czech river.
Yes?
Yes, hang on a bit. I've
Yes.
got to go back to it. Yes. It's Vltava.
Yes, I think you'll...
Alternatively,
I think you'll find Czech people call it Vltava, but you're absolutely right. It comes from my country. It's by the other mark.
This is not Warsaw.
No, that's right. It's number 2, you might say. It's Smetana. Yes, Smetana. By the other mark, yes. Yes, Smetana. Piece called Vltava, that gorgeous river that flows through the equally gorgeous city of Prague. 2 marks there. Next round. Many famous operas have the name of a leading character as the title. For instance, Falstaff or Iolanthe. For 2 marks, I want please a description of who the character is. And for an extra mark, if you know where the opera is set. So 2 marks for a description of the person, and a 3rd mark for where. David Franklin, who was Norma?
She was the heroine of an opera by Bellini.
Mm-hmm. What did Norma do? Who was she?
She was a princess.
Not a princess.
A countess.
No, not a countess.
A duchess.
Not a duchess, no.
A peasant.
Norma was a priestess, a druid priestess. And the scene was laid in Gaul in ancient times. Denis Norden, who was Aida?
Aida was a lady.
Aida was a lady. I remember it, nobody else does.
Yeah. Aida is Egyptian for Ada, actually. She was an Egyptian lady in an opera written by a composer called Gilbert.
What does she do for a living?
Well, I knew we'd get to the hard bit. What was her racket, Ian?
I've been caught up on Aida before.
It was her job in the opera which was important, really, yes.
She was a princess. She wasn't a priestess or a druid. She was a princess, was she?
Well, I have to give you that. The job she did in the opera was rather important.
Lend it to me, you know.
Daughter of Amonasro, king of Ethiopia, captured by the Egyptians, a domestic slave to Amneris, daughter of the king of Egypt. And where was the scene set in Aida? You did say Egypt, but can you be a bit more precise, please?
I can't be very precise. The banks of the Nile.
Yes, putting it straight back in my court, isn't it?
Yes.
Memphis and Thebes at the time of the pharaohs. I'm going to give you 2 out of 3 because you got the general idea there, and I like the gag about Aida wasn't Aida. Or whatever it was you said. Ian, who and where was Fidelio?
Well, Fidelio, the opera was by Beethoven, and you don't want to know that.
No. I wish I could help you.
A lot of it takes place in a prison.
Yes.
And there's a lot of prisoners, and they are released at the end.
Would you like a cigarette?
Oh, thank you.
Where are they released into? For your other mark.
Well, into the street.
I have to tell you, don't I? I'm afraid for no marks. Fidelio, purporting to be a youth, in reality the heroine, Leonore, has disguised herself so that she can work in the prison. You did say prison, where her husband is a captive. The scene is laid in a fortress in Seville. That's no marks, I'm afraid. Half a mark for prison.
Prison, no, I think
half a mark for prison.
Yes, right. I mean,
that kind of a game, isn't it? Frank Muir, Turandot.
I can tell you all about this. I saw this as a play in Moscow. It was called Princess Turandot. So she was a princess, and she was a chap, rather short chap, who was the hero, entered from the left. And there was a court there, and he had to answer 3 riddles. And then he could marry her, and if he didn't answer all 3, he'd have his head chopped off. And he answered all 3, and she had to marry him, and she went into a big and rather amusing thing. And then he said that he would give her a chance not to have to marry her if she answered him 3 riddles.
Well, you've certainly got the synopsis all right. Who was Turandot, then?
She was a princess.
That's right, yes.
And she had an old father who was a funny figure and a funny white beard. And
right. Don't start again.
And he had 2 funny chamberlains who hit each other.
He has 3 funny chamberlains in the opera. They're called Ping, Pang and Pong. What's the Russian for Ping, Pang and Pong?
Very roughly the same.
Well, I think that's 3 marks in any language. The scene is laid, to be precise, in ancient Pekin. Anyway, 3 marks there. Marvellous. A round of tunes now in which types of jobs are mentioned. David, first of all, who's this worker?
The better my work, the less my pay, but work can only be done one way.
Sounds to me like Peter Dawson.
Well,
but
yes.
I imagine you want to know what his trade is in this piece. He is the cobbler.
Yes,
in
that's right.
Chuchin Chow.
He's the cobbler for 1 mark, yes. It's a 1 mark round, this one. Dennis, what does this chap do for a living?
That chap is an estate agent.
Yes.
There's a friendly fellow who prints all the latest real estate news.
You're right, you know.
Right? But the tune is called My Very Good Friend the Milkman, but that chap was an estate agent, right?
How are they doing in the score? I'm going to give you 1 mark for getting the right answer and 1 mark for fooling the bloke who sets the question. You're quite right. My very good friend the milkman, but that bit in the middle 8 bars concerns real estate. Ian Wallace, the job here.
We'll give him hell. Husbands moan at breakfast tables. No milk, no eggs, no motley labels. Mothers send the children out.
Fortunately, I can read Dennis's handwriting very well, and that is a grocer.
That's right, because the song is Dennis.
Grocer Jack.
From? No, it doesn't.
It's not from Aida, I'll tell you that.
Excerpt from a teenage opera, the Mark Wirtz thing. It's yes, a mark for you there for
I doubt if I shall ever be engaged to singing it.
And a question for Frank, profession.
Some people make a fortune, others earn a mint. My old man don't earn much. In fact, he's flipping skins. Home!
Oh, the page is a refuse collector.
Or to use the old-fashioned word,
My old man's a dustman.
dustman, yes. 1 mark there.
He wears
Have a look at
actually a dustman's hat.
That's what he does, yes. He wears gore-blinding trousers. Have a look at the score there. Leading by half a mark are David Franklin and Frank Muir so far. Now a round of popular songs and their lyrics, as we call them in the trade. Can you name the song for 2 marks from the word clues I give you? David, the singer suggests in this song that if your acquaintance with the young lady were as intimate as his own, you too would be impressed. He also...
Say no more. Say no more. I got it. If you knew Susie... Like, that all depends, mate. If you knew Susie as I knew Susie...
Or like what I know Susie.
Whichever you like.
Yes.
Oh, what a girl.
Oh, yes, I think that's 2 marks. Dennis, can you name a song in which the singer's physical desire with regard to his lady seems so limited, so respectable, as to make him seem by present-day standards to be wanting in passion?
The short answer is no. How about I'd rather have a paper doll to call my own than have a fickle-hearted real live girl?
It's ingenious, and because the clue is pretty general, I'll give you a clue. It's the Beatles. It's a Beatles song. No.
I can't think of any songs of Beatles.
I'm going to ask the audience. Anybody know? I want to hold your hand. Yes.
Oh yes.
That is the answer. Ian, this lady, by her own confession, is unable to sit still. She's prepared to give the highest musical testimonial to the romantic propensities of her gentleman friend, though she concedes that he's not good-looking.
She can't sit still?
No, she can't sit still.
Oh, I can't sit still. And when you're near, I can't...
Yes, you're on the track.
Johnny.
Oh, Johnny.
Yes.
For heaven's sake.
Just can't sit still a minute. You're not handsome, it's true, and so on. Yes, you've got Oh, Johnny for 2 marks there.
Oh!
Frank.
What?
Frank, it would appear that this visitor to the Golden Gate was so careless that when he departed he was anatomically incomplete.
I left my house.
Where?
Can't do it without the orchestra. In San Francisco.
For 2 marks, yes. A round of lightish music. For 2 marks, can you give me just the title, please, David?
I prefer to say that this is so beautiful. And so rare, and so out of this world. Is it called so rare?
No, not for a moment.
I prefer not to try to get sordid marks out of it. I prefer just to sit and listen.
That's right. We'll let the audience get sordid marks after 3, audience. 1, 2, 3. Thank you. La Mer. La Mer.
The horse.
The sea, as General La Mer. No marks there. Denis Norden's turn.
Try the audience on this one. Before I give the answer, I just want to see whether it checks.
Yes.
I don't know what we...
Ian doesn't either.
It was a fig tune to a very popular music programme on BBC Radio, but I don't know what it's called.
Yes, it's one of the most played light music pieces in British radio.
I know it is. You don't have to rub it in, and I don't know it. All right, I don't know it. I bet there are things you don't know.
Oh, yes, there are. Yes, there are. It's by Ronald Binge, and it's called, audience? Thank you, Elizabethan Serenade.
I think we should change seats.
Yes, there are things I don't know, like who composed the next one, but I'm not asking that. I'm just asking the title. Ian, what's this?
The Mexican Hat Dance.
Composed by Alan Sherman.
Never in 1,000 years. Anyway, Mexican Hat Dance is right, Ian. For 2 marks, thank you. And finally, Frank, what's this?
Purcell's Trumpet Voluntary by Jeremiah Clark.
Yes, near enough. Yes. Questions of general musical interest. At least I find them interesting. For 2 marks. David, what is a galliard and what is a pavane, and in what way are they different?
Well, there are 2 different types of dances.
Yes.
A pavane is a slow, solemn dance.
Yes.
And a galliard is a quick dance.
You're absolutely right. Yes, for 2 marks. Denis, which famous composer married twice and was the father of 20 children?
Sounds more like a producer. I'm toying with Rachmaninoff, but I don't. And he had time to be a famous composer. I really don't know.
A very famous musical family. That should give it to you.
Strauss?
Oh, I knew you'd say that. No, Bach.
Hammerstein.
I can't give any more. Johann Sebastian Bach. Married twice, was the father of 20 children. And the Bachs, I think all 17 or so generations of them, were all great contributors to music.
Ian, a schoolboy who once writing an essay about Bach said he had 22 children, and in between he used to practice on a spinster in the attic.
Ian, it is your turn, isn't it?
I can't follow that.
Ian, which light opera was first performed in the Bijou Theatre, Paynton? On the
Pirates of Penzance, Gilbert and Sullivan.
Would you like me to ask the question now? On the 30th of December 1879, for reasons of copyright, and had its official opening performance next day at the Fifth Avenue Theatre, New York. Ian?
The Pirates of Penzance.
Yes, you're still right. You are a killjoy, aren't you? 2 marks. Frank, what do you know about Belshazzar's feast?
The bill hasn't been paid. It was when the moving finger, having got a writ, moved on. It's the writing on the wall, isn't it?
Yes.
What else was there?
Musically speaking.
It was actually the writing of the Walton, rather than writing on the wall.
That's true, yes.
It's by Isaac Walton.
The complete composer.
Sir William Walton.
Yes, 2 marks there, very good. Sir William Walton's cantata, Belshazzar's Feast. Now the singing bit. Graham Dalley will play bits of popular traditional tunes, and the teams will sing on when he stops. Generous markings will be given up to a maximum of 3. David Franklin, first of all.
That's as far as I go. I find it much too affecting to go on any farther than that. Seated one day at the organ, I was weary and ill at ease. And my blasted key.
It's like those old advertisements. They laughed when I sat down at the organ.
Sound of the last Amen.
The great Amen. 2 out of 3. Denis, your turn.
I can remember these jewelled words. Swam 3 little fishes and a mammy fishy too. Swim, said the mammy fishy, swim if you can. And they swam right over the dam. That now comes a really great piece of writing. Boop, boop, dittum, dottum, wattum, chew. You don't really want me to continue.
I want the next 2 lines. I was very pleased with your boop, boop, dittum, dottum, wattum, chew. I thought that was excellent. Anyway, 3 marks.
This has caused comment before.
3 marks there. Ian Wallace.
really has got me completely. I now feel having...
Give him a push, Dennis. Start.
Dennis is writing something.
He's writing something about the banks of Allan Water, which again is my side of the border, and I'm in for serious trouble for...
You know what happens after that?
Yes, I don't know what happens. I know the Allan Water. No, it's not Lamy Doon indeed. I know that one very, very well.
I can't give you any marks in.
No, I'm afraid you can't.
Would you like half a mark for one word? The miller's lovely...
Daughter.
Yes.
Well, it would be, or even better, doctor.
Yes, all right. Was the miller's lovely daughter, fairest of them all, for his bride a soldier sought her, and a winning tongue had he on the banks of Allan Water, none so gay as she. Half a mark, right. And some music for Frank.
Go together like a horse and carriage. Go and ask your mother. You shouldn't have one without the other. And marriage go together like Dieppe and Harwich. You can't have one without the other. 3 marks.
Oh, I think so. And I'm afraid that's the end of my music. The result this week gives us a win by 3 marks for David Franklin and Frank Muir. Good night.
Taking part in My Music were David Franklin, Frank Muir, Denis Norden and Ian Wallace. Graham Dalley was at the keyboard and the chairman was Steve Ray. The questions were compiled by Edward J. Mason and the programme was produced in London by Tony Schreier. The BBC presents My Music, a musical panel game devised by Edward J. Mason and Tony Schreier. And here's Steve Race to introduce the team.
Here's another in the series My Music. Frank Muir is still partnered by David Franklin. Denis Norden is still partnered by Ian Wallace. There aren't any rules to explain to you, so let's just start with the first round. Familiar instrumental orchestral music. 1 mark if you can tell me the title, another mark for the name of the composer. And the first question, as always, goes to David Franklin. Buzz going on over your side, David.
I was just smelling a sort of Scandinavian air.
Yes.
Sibelius.
Yes, that's for 1 mark.
And Symphony number 2.
Yes, 2 marks. Symphony number 2 in D by Sibelius. And some music for Denis Norden.
I suppose I've heard it.
Oh, haven't we all?
Yeah.
Shall I put you out of your by misery?
Yeah.
Would you like the title and you give me the composer, or the other way round?
Yes, it doesn't.
You mean we're still... You mean we're still on 1 mark?
I'll tell you, it was the prelude from Sylvia Ballet by...
Dalley.
1 mark, yes, Dalley. Good enough. And some music for Ian Wallace to identify. Pretty, but what is it?
Tchaikovsky.
Yes, 1 mark.
And it's a waltz.
Yes, from...
Eugene Onegin.
I beg your pardon. It's just nice to have somebody else pronounce it for me, that's all. What was it you said?
Eugene Onegin.
Yes, the other mark. Yes.
Before I came on this programme, I always pronounced that Eugene Onegin, as though he was Irish.
I think I would have given a mark for that, or at least a dram, anyway. Frank Muir, what is this?
Enchanting. It's, I happen to know this, it's Planet's Host by Mars. David has written it up.
Well, all right then, yes. You meant to say the planet's Mars from the Planet Suite by Holst. What's Holst's Christian name?
Host?
First name.
You never use Christian name of Holst. He's a very severe man.
All right then.
Mr. Holst, Gustav, if you must use it. Normally,
yes, Gustav. All right, you got your 2 marks anyway. A round of associations. If I were to ask you, what do the underworld and Eurydice have in common, and who was responsible, you would say, of course, Orpheus. Orpheus and the underworld, Orpheus and Eurydice. Offenbach being responsible for the first, Gluck for the second. I'm sure that's clear even to the meanest intelligence. Good.
How many marks do you get for that?
I get about 15 marks for getting through it. For 3 marks, gentlemen, what do the following have in common, and which 2 composers were responsible? David Franklin, Gerontius and Alwyn have in common...
Gerontius and Owen?
And Alwyn, yes.
Aha! The lights have dawned.
Yes.
They are both dreams.
Both dreams. The dream of and the dream of, yes. Now, which composers, please, were responsible for your other 2 marks?
Well, the dream of Olwen was not Elgar.
Correct.
His one was the dream of Gerontius.
I have to give you 1 mark for dream, 1 mark for Elgar, the missing name Charles Williams, who composed the dream of Olwen.
Charles Williams.
Charles Williams, yes. Denis Norden, April and an American.
Speaking on behalf of the meanest intelligence, an American. Paris, rather.
Yes, that's right. And the
April
composers?
An American in Paris is George Gershwin, and April in Paris is Vernon Duke, I think. Yes,
Very
Vernon
good.
Duke.
Yes, Vernon Duke composed April in Paris.
What a partner.
Well, it's your turn now to make him say what a partner. Ian, Me Tonight and For Three Oranges.
What was the first? Me Tonight. And For Three Oranges.
Yes.
Love.
Love for a mark, yes. And the composers, please.
Love for Three Oranges, Prokofiev.
Yes.
And Love Me Tonight. No, I'm not going to...
It says here Rogers. So,
well, I'm sure that's right.
That's 2 marks. 2 marks out of 3. Frank, Indigo and Inver.
Inver Mulligatawny. This wouldn't be Mood, would it?
It would, actually, for a mark.
It would, yes, right.
Mood Indigo.
Mood Indigo, Duke Ellington's lovely thing, and In the Mood...
I would settle for who first made it famous.
Well, Glenn Miller.
Glenn Miller for a mark, yes. It was written by Joe Garland or perhaps Don Redman. Some well-loved songs next. For 2 marks, can you identify song and singer? It won't always be the bit of the song you know best, by the way. David.
This where you sit shall crown into a shame. This where you sit shall crown into
David.
It's called, as most tenors pronounce it, Where Hair You Who Walk. It's by Handel, and that recording, For a Guinea, was by John McCormick.
Yes. 1 mark for John McCormick. 1 for Where Hair You Walk. 2 marks. And Dennis, it's your turn. Dennis, the audience whispering in like
that. Of earnest. Wafting it. Over the Wings of a Dove, and it's earnest, luff or lush?
Luff, I hope, yeah. The audience didn't really know it was Ernest Luff. It's just the only version they know of Over the Wings of a Dove.
I'm with the audience on that, yeah.
2 marks there. Ian, your turn for a really easy one.
There were ships in the offing, and I hurried down to the deep rolling.
Kathleen Ferrier is the singer.
Yes.
And,
song.
One of these tantalising ones.
I'm compelled to give you 1 mark and ask the audience. The title? Thank you. How nicely you say it. Blow the Wind Southerly. Yes. 1 mark there for you. And Frank.
I'll look into your eyes and hold your hand.
Frank.
Lovely. It's, I'll walk beside you through the forest It's the Walking Beside song.
Yes. Sung by you, actually, wasn't it? Before that.
It was also sung by my large partner, who keeps saying, Paul Robeson, Paul Robeson. Presumably it's an earlier work of which he's cognizant and I ain't, by Paul Robeson.
Yes, there's your 2nd mark, you're right. It's strange how well one can know a composer's surname without having the faintest idea of his first name or names. David, for 2 marks, can you give me, please, the name that goes before Glinka? These are not easy, these ones.
The awful thing is, I should know the other 3. Osbert.
No, actually, it's the Chevrolet Glinka. No, it's Mikhail Ivanovich. No marks, anyway. Dennis, rather an easy one, I think. Debussy.
I thought it was Debussy, like, you know.
David, what does the D stand for?
David, yeah. Debussy, right? Debussy. Claude.
Yes.
Yes. Claude. That seems to fit.
Shall we put him in French?
Claude Debussy.
Yes. And he had an Achille as well, but or however it's pronounced. We'll leave that anyway. Yes, 2 marks there. Ian, Smetana.
Well, it's not Peter Ilyich. That was somebody else.
No.
What about giving us an initial?
B.
B. It's not Borodin. Boris?
I really can't stall this game any longer, can I? Bedrich. B-E-D-R-I-C-H. Which I think means Frederick. Anyway, it's no marks.
No.
Sorry.
No.
Frank. Pitifully easy for you. Pathetically, ludicrously simple. Verdi.
Monty.
Try again.
Guy Soppi, my friend
Yes.
Does he really?
Giuseppe Monteverdi.
Giuseppe.
Yes, Giuseppe Verdi. All right, on the second attempt, 2 marks, good enough. Among my favourite kinds of radio listening are those programmes in which they teach little children, gentlemen, to move in time to music and to express themselves through rhythm and mime. You know the kind of programme I mean. You gentlemen, being so musical, as well as so articulate, ought really to be able to tell me, just from hearing the music, what it is that the little kiddies, or if you prefer the technical term, perishers, are supposed to be doing to this music. So, first of all, David Franklin, what do you think the little dears were doing to this music?
Sorts of lascivious ideas come to my mind, but I've tried to repel them. The only thing I can think of is they're smashing something.
I think that's good enough for 2 marks. I think they're smashing the radio. The 2-piece band version of Jupiter. It says here, actually, they were pressing their feet heavily into the floor. But you certainly get your 2 marks for that, David. And some music for Master Denis Norden. Dennis, what were they doing?
Sitting comfortably. I see them sort of stomping around sullenly during that. Kind of marching, goose-stepping. They were doing a Hitler thing, and some of them were outside smoking cigarettes, and other people were chasing the music mistress around the back of the cricket pavilion, you know.
Well, I'll give you 2 marks for that. In fact, they were supposed to be punching and kicking. So, there's 2 marks. Anyway. And now some music for Ian Wallace. Ian.
Well, I think they were getting on their hobby horses and skipping round the room. Come along, keep your feet up and down. Skipping, like a little horse.
Ian. Ian, will you will write out 100 times, I must not get excited in my you certainly get...
You nearly got airborne.
You certainly get 2 marks. They were supposed to be jumping and hopping. And here's some music, and we asked Frank what they were doing to this.
It's a lot of children exercising and bobbing up and down on defective pogo sticks. And it was working, and then gradually a fissure, it had metal strain. Just where the foot bar bit goes, and eventually it collapsed.
Well, that's very good for 2 marks. The kids thought they were shaking up and down and all about and then collapsing on the floor. And I think you were better. Your version was better, so that's 2 marks. And we move on to Gilbert and Sullivan. I'll give you the title of a song. I want you to tell me the opera from which it comes for 1 mark, and for an extra mark, the name of the character who sings it. David Franklin. Flowers that bloom in the spring.
It's nothing to do with the case, and it comes from... My trouble is that I think every Gilbert and Sullivan opera is the Mikado.
Well, you get a mark for saying it's from the Mikado.
Well,
and the character who sings it, please, for another mark.
No idea.
Nanki Poo sings it, so that's 1 mark out of 2. The second verse of it, I should mention, in case people write me letters, is sung by Coco. Anyway, Denis Norden, take a pair of sparkling eyes from...
From the Gondoliers. That sort of clicked into position, but who sang it? I don't know. I've never seen the Gondoliers.
For half a mark, what did he do for a living?
He was a gondolier.
Yes.
This one, yeah.
All right, then 1.5 there. His name was Marco Almieri. Ian, your turn. When a felon's not engaged in his employment.
It comes from the Pirates of Penzance.
For a mark.
And it's sung by the policeman.
Yes. What was his rank?
The sergeant.
Yes, the sergeant of police. There's 2 marks. And, Frank, I'm called Little Buttercup.
Where is it? I'm called Little Buttercup is Gilbert and Sullivan.
From?
It's sung by, if you can believe her word, Little Buttercup.
Yes, that's right. Yes, that's a mark. And in which show, which opera? What did you say?
My friend says HMS Pinafore.
Yes, HMS Pinafore for your 2nd mark. Now for some questions about semi-technicalities in music. For 2 marks, David Franklin, what is a fardo and where would you expect to find it?
What was this? Did you say this was around on semi?
Yes, I did actually, yes. Fardo.
It is a semi-dance.
A semi-dance? No, no, not even fardo. No, I'm not taking that.
It's not a dance?
No, not a dance. Not particularly a dance, no. It's principally a folk song and Portuguese. Dennis, what is double stopping?
Double stopping?
Yes.
What is it? He's doing eloquent things with his fingertips.
Come on, what is it, Ian?
Isn't it with a stringed instrument when you put your fingers on them twice?
Ian, I'm going to give you 2 marks because you've got it really. It's playing 2 notes at once on a bowed string instrument. Sometimes even more than 2, but it's still called double stopping. And it's your turn, Ian. Isn't that nice? So, Ian, musically speaking, what is a short stick?
Well, a short stick's a short stick, musically. I would say that... I'm sorry, you...
No, I just had a theory that possibly if you had a conductor with very long arms.
I think the correct answer to this question is that on a concert grand piano, you can either have the lid right open on a long stick,
yes,
or if you just want less sound to come out when it's accompanying a singer, I always very firmly see that the thing is only open on the short stick so that I'm not drowned by an
Yes, certainly 2 marks there. The short stick's useful to the piano concerto so that the conductor can see the viola players sometimes, you know. Your question, Frank. What does a guitarist do with his left thumb?
Keeps it always clean and hygienic. And there's a trick question here, isn't there?
In a manner of speaking, in a way, yes.
Well, sometimes he thumps it against the woodwork.
When he's mad, you mean?
No. Stay with me in this, Steve. Very often they use the guitar as a kind of drum as well. In Andalusia and in some parts of South America. And if you believe that, you believe anything.
Well, I don't believe anything. As a matter of fact, actually, the guitarist does nothing with his left thumb. He uses it to stop the guitar from falling down. It holds up the instrument and he fingers with
the things around his neck on the string.
Well, that helps as well. Yeah, that helps too. Here comes the moment you've all been dreading, the audience anyway. Graham Dalley will start you off, and we ask you to go on singing when he ends. 3 marks if you get the tune, and please the words right. David Franklin.
Bless this house, oh Lord, please say what the next line is That's enough to establish the mood of the people.
Yeah, well, I certainly give you 1 there, I think. Make it safe by night and day, bless these walls so firm and stout, keeping want and trouble out, and so on. Right, 1 mark out of 3. I think it's generous to a fault. Dennis.
See you tumble down old shack streets, I'm going. I sent adults kicking and screaming and collapsing. Where'd I get up to, Steve?
You've got to remember the wrong words, actually.
I'm back to see those corny country cousins of mine. Anybody going to help me?
Well, I had helped you up to there.
You
That's
did,
when I
yeah.
say...
Yeah, I think it's fair enough. The next line here on my touch script says, Home Twan, where the doves... But we let it all go and give you, I think 2. We shouldn't go very far, did you? 2 out of 3 there. Ian, your turn.
And the brow that's all wrinkled and furrowed with care, I kiss the dear fingers so careworn for me. Oh, God bless you and keep you, Mother Mercury.
Yes, indeed, for 3. The fingers were toil-worn rather than care-worn. And it was O instead of R, God bless you. But never
It makes a better sound on R.
Yes, more vocal sound. Anyway, 3 marks there. Here's some music for Frank Muir, Stick 2.
Underneath the lamplight, darling, I remember the clothes you used to wear. There, beneath the lamplight's yellow beam, your fillings gleam. Small children scream, my lily of the lamplight, my own Lily Marmalade.
Yes, interesting words for 3 marks, I think, there. The words I have were something like that.
Did I? Was I less than perfect?
Well, you were more than creative. Well, that leads us to our final score. Ian Wallace and Denis Norden win by 3 marks. Goodbye.
Taking part in My Music were David Franklin, Frank Muir, Denis Norden and Ian Wallace. Graham Dalley was at the keyboard and the chairman was Steve Ray. The questions were compiled by Edward J. Mason and the programme was produced in London by Tony Schreier. The BBC presents My Music. A musical panel game devised by Edward J. Mason and Tony Schreier. And here's Steve Race to introduce the team.
Hello again. May I reassure the waiting world that our My Music teams are unchanged. Frank Muir is still partnered by David Franklin. Denis Norden is still partnered by Ian Wallace. Here comes the first round. Identifying pieces of instrumental music, please, for 2 marks. 1 mark for the piece, 1 mark for the composer. Beginning, we always do for some reason, with David Franklin. David.
Well, Mozart?
Yes, for a mark, and you can deduce your way to the other mark, really.
What?
Well, did you recognise the instrument?
Well, it's a flute.
No, not flute.
Wasn't it?
No, it was a bit longer than that. What kind of a piece would it be for this player?
It was a concerto of some sort.
Yes.
It was a concerto for
the
clarinet.
Yes. In fact, taken all round, you'd say it was the Mozart clarinet concerto, wouldn't you?
Of course.
And if you went through the keys starting at the beginning of the alphabet?
Well, I'd start in A.
Yes. Major or minor?
How many marks do I get? This is half the first volume of Grove.
I'm going to ask you the Kirkle number in a minute. The Mozart clarinet concerto, Kirkle 622 in A major, and you've got 2 marks. Happy?
Yes.
Good.
Astounded.
Let's see how Denis...
Out of 10.
Let's see how Denis gets on with this celebratory piece.
Well, I never was much good at celebratory pieces, Steve, to be frank. You know, you knocked me off a requiem or something like that. Try toccata and fugue. Or should I try one or the other?
Yes, try one or the other.
Toccata.
Try toccata, yes.
Oh, yes. It's the tri-toccata, which is a 3-piece toccata.
No, I cut
comes in uncut motet. Yes,
just cut the try. Just have the toccata.
Yes. It's a toccata.
Yeah, well, you get a mark for that, really. It's somebody's toccata. Do you know whose?
Try Bach.
No, don't try Bach. No. Charles Widor's toccata in F minor. A very popular wedding piece now, which is what I meant by celebratory. Anyway, 1 mark for saying toccata. Ian, what's your turn?
For being able to say. Yeah. Battle hymn.
Yes, a concerto.
Yes, for...
No.
Violin.
Yes, there's 1 mark.
And...
Spy.
Help him, Dennis.
Help him.
He'll never learn unless he...
One's got to work it out for oneself. In the final analysis, it's just self, isn't it?
Yeah.
You've got to stand on your own 2 feet. Tchaikovsky.
No, I'm afraid not. No, later than that. Max Bruch, violin concerto number 1 in G minor. Anyway, a mark for saying violin concerto. It's the first theme from the second movement, as a matter of fact. And some music for Frank Muir.
That's not a concerto, because there's a lot of instruments in there.
That's right.
All bashing away.
That's true.
And the concerto's only got 1 in the orchestra, hasn't it?
Usually, sometimes it has 2, and somebody even wrote a concerto for orchestra, but we'll let that pass.
So I could have half a mark on that.
No, you haven't even answered it.
I don't know this.
You would tell me, wouldn't you, if you didn't know it?
Yes.
No, I don't know. Shall I tell you the piece? It's from the Ballet Music Act 3 of William Tell. Would you like to give me the composer for
Rossini?
1 mark? Yes, Rossini for 1 mark. Good enough. And, of course, it reappeared as a Scottish soldier. For 2 marks, can you tell me, please, the answer to the following questions? David, what could you have done all night and still have asked for more?
I may say so, a very flattering question. In fact, in the context which you give me,
yes.
I could have danced all night.
Yes, thank you, yes, for 2 marks. Dennis, what do you lift up your finger and say?
In whatever context, the next few words make you appear a right nun. I lift up my fingers and I say, tweet, tweet, now, now, shush, shush, come, come. Written by Leslie Saroni.
Yeah. You got your now-nows and your shush-shushes inverted. You say tweet, tweet, shush-shush, now, come, come.
I could have shush-shushed all night. 20 years ago.
Anyway, it's 2 marks for that. Ian, what is it that you can't do up?
My belly bottom button.
That is correct for 2 marks.
Old music hall song.
I've heard you sing it, haven't I?
Yes.
And does Billy come into it? Is it?
I can't do my belly bottom button up. No, it's belly. Not.
Oh, I taught my children it and taught them bottom belly button.
Well, that's entirely up to you.
It's belly bottom button. This is the point at which we fly over to Frank Muir for your question, Frank. What are you drowned in the sight and the sound and the feel of?
Beer.
No, actually.
Drowned in the sight
and the sound and the feel of.
I was not.
Do you know, I'm going to shame you by letting Dennis tell you. Dennis, do you know?
A real live girl.
A real live girl, yes. From the show Little Me.
Drown in a girl.
Well,
I
Frank,
lift up my finger for that and I say, You lift up 2 marks and say 2 fingers and say no mark.
Yes, I do. Now for some vocal music. 1 mark for what it is, another for what it's from, and a third for the composer's name. David.
I've forgotten all the questions.
Well, what's it
the
called?
name of the piece, O Rest in the Lord.
1 mark.
From Elijah,
Another
by
mark.
Felix Mendelssohn Bartholdy, sung by Kathleen Ferrier.
Well, you should have stopped a little sooner, sung by Marjorie Thomas on that record, yes. But I didn't ask that, so fair enough. Elijah, O Rest in the Lord, Mendelssohn. 3 marks in all.
Oh,
Dennis.
Yes, well, despite the hush, below it, Ian was whispering, humming chorus from Madame Butterfly by Puccini, sung by the chorus. You want all the individual names? Hummed by the chorus, yeah. Reading from left to right, it was Peggy, Marjorie, Rose, Fred.
3 marks. Anyway, it's now your turn, Ian, to identify some music. A glorious
Elizabeth Schwarzkopf.
Yes, that's the one thing I'm not asking.
I know. And it's called, I think, Sei nicht böse, which means don't be cross. Good.
Yes,
And
I didn't have to say it, now you've said it. Good.
And it's from I don't know what the opera's called. It's something to do with miners.
Oh, very good, yes.
The Miner's Dream of Home?
No. Although one could well imagine.
Der Obersteiger is the name of the opera, the Master Miner. But I'll give you the 2 marks there. Composer, please.
Now that's a much more difficult one, isn't it? I don't think I know this.
No, I didn't think anybody did. But anyway, it says here Karl Zeller. He was an Austrian gentleman. He lived from 1842 to 1898. And you get 2 well-won marks out of the 3. And it was a hard one, so I owe you a favour later on. Frank Muir, an easy one.
The Laughing Song.
Yes. One mark.
From Fledermaus.
Another mark, yes.
By Friedrichstrauss. And translated it's The Bat, another mark. Johann Strauss, another mark.
I make that a total of 5.5 marks.
Yes. The laughing total.
If we'd gone into which character sings it, Ian would have been in a load of trouble, wouldn't he? Master Miner. Anyway, you got your marks there. Johann Strauss II, the composer, 3 marks. Let's have a look at the score. And we have, at this stage in the game, a tie. A lot of people take a great deal of trouble to design music which will encourage children to use their imagination. Here are some electronic sounds that have been designed with just this in mind. Can you describe what the following sounds conjure up in your mind? 3 marks for sheer inspiration. David Franklin.
Standing in a cold shower.
I'm going to give you 3 marks for that. The very prosaic idea that the composer or compiler of that music had was he called it a wish and the appearance of the fairy godmother.
A near miss, David.
Standing in a cold.
Joining me in the shower.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Here's some electronic music for Denis Norden to listen to. And you have to pick up the words where he left off.
I bet he had to go to bed with his teddy bear that night. It's just music to maladjust children, I think. It's some kind of terror-inspiring to give children a nice basic feeling of insecurity.
That's 3 marks, because, of course, everybody's going to get 3 marks in this round, as you can imagine, except Ian, who's going to get 4. It says here, wizards, alchemists, and sorcerers.
Alchemists?
Alchemists. Yes. That was the one that he just found how to transmute, you see.
What was the one who was barking?
I don't know. The alchemist was...
The twittery ones were the flying sorcerers.
Some similar type music for Ian Wallace. Now you may speak.
Has he finished?
Yes, he's done. He's done.
Well, at first, I thought it was Pekingese dogs at the door going...
But then, when the other noises came in, one realised that this was obviously the toy train going round the track and gradually running down, blowing its little whistle and finally coming to a rather dispirited stop.
I said I was going to give you 4, and 4 I'm going to give you. Not only was your answer inspired, it was also correct. That piece was called The Train. Frank Muir, here's one for you.
Quite clearly, Father getting up in the middle of the night to have a glass of water.
For 3 marks, yes. It does actually say here, heavy creature from outer space. I steal a glance at the score, and I see that Ian and Denis are leading at the moment by 1 mark.
That's that bonus mark.
That's the one I gave Ian, isn't it? A round of general musical knowledge questions. I know how you look forward to these. For 2 marks, David Franklin, Beethoven wrote 4 overtures for his opera Fidelio. What were they?
Overture number 1. The 3 of them were called Leonoras, weren't they?
That's right.
Leonora number 1, Leonora number 2, Leonora number 3.
Yes.
And then was the one that he actually used in the opera.
And called?
Overture.
Overture to Fidelio.
Fidelio, yes. That's right. Yes, there's your 2 marks. Interesting thing is that in order of production, they were Leonora number 2, number 3, number 1, and then Fidelio. But I wasn't asking you. That is interesting. I consider that interesting. Denis, what is Quailer, and where would you find it?
Well, I wish I could summon up David's sort of outraged omniscience on this. What is a quailer? Could it be the opening line of...
How is it spelt?
Quailer gather lilacs in the spring again. I don't know what quailer... Is it a musical instrument? Sound, song, dance?
No, it's a type of music. Kwela.
Yeah, that's how I figured it. Kwela. It looks African.
Yes, there's 1 out of 2.
Ah. Well, I don't think I'm going to get any further now.
I can't give you any more. Do you remember that tune, Tom Hark? That was a Quailer kind of tune. It says here, music played on primitive bamboo pipes or penny whistles. Mixture of European and African elements began among the poor coloured boys of Johannesburg. There was a lad called Little Lemmy, who was a great exponent of the penny whistle, and he played...
Wasn't there a musical
Quailer
over here?
Wasn't it? Well, King Kong included some Quailer and highlight and so on. Yes. Anyway, you get 1 mark there for saying that it had an African connection as far as you're concerned. Ian, what was the big noise from Winnetka, and how was it produced?
What was the big noise from...
Winnetka.
Winnetka.
And how was it produced? And I think Denis may know if you don't.
Well, it was produced by blowing in, and then it blew right out again.
That was the words of the song. But do you remember on the record the unusual sound?
Oh, yes. Somebody whistled. Ray Eberly.
No.
Somebody.
Ray Baduke.
Ray Baduke, yeah. And somebody whistled, and the other fellow drummed the bass.
That's
drummed up and
the
down
answer
the
I was after, Ian. You're quite right, Ian.
Yes. It's very interesting, this thought transference, isn't it?
Bob Haggart was the bass player, and Ray Baduke was the drummer who drummed on the strings of the double bass to produce the famous noise in that record. How many marks there? 2, because your side got it, fair enough. Frank Muir, I remember once somebody said to Arthur Askey, what's your new record like? And he said, it's like a huge Eccles cake with a hole in the middle. I thought it was a lovely answer. That prompts this question, how big is the hole in the middle of a gramophone record?
It must be big enough to reach through to both sides.
The A side and the B side.
Yeah. Otherwise you can't get it on. I know a chap that saved old gramophone records and kept the holes.
And he used to sell them. He had a big place. He used to sit outside wholesale warehouse. It's just not quite big enough for your little finger to go in, and it's slightly larger than a pencil.
Would you like to hazard in inches or millimetres? You wouldn't really, would you?
That's where your marks lie. It's slightly less than a third of an inch.
Yes, I'll take that. I'll take that. 0.2850 inches minimum diameter up to 0.2885, or 7.24 millimetres to 7.33 millimetres. Here's the singing bit Graham Dalley plays. You sing, please, with the words for 3 marks. David.
Pretty bubbles in the air, extraordinary key. They fly so high, nearly reach the sky. Then, like my dreams, they fade and die. Fortune's always smiling. I've looked everywhere. I'm forever blowing bubbles, pretty bubbles in the air.
Very good.
I noticed fellas not beyond it, is he?
No, that was in your Glyndebourne repertoire, I fancy, wasn't it, that one? I am forever blowing bubbles. Yes, 3 lovely pearly marks there. Denis Norden, your turn.
Did you hear me mutter, anything goes? My record of this was released without a hole in the middle. The reason will now become obvious. In olden days, a glimpse of stocking was looked on as something shocking. Now heaven knows anything goes.
Any key goes.
Any key goes.
The next line, please, because we have had that line already, you see.
We did. And novelists who once knew better words now only use 4-letter words writing.
Good enough. Good authors, too, actually, not novelists.
Sorry, I wasn't paying attention.
Oh, yes, 3 marks. Ian, are you in good voice?
I don't know.
Right, here we go. Ian.
We're 100 pipers and all, well up and gay a blow, a blow. We're 100 pipers and all. Oh, it's out of the border, a wah, it's out of the border, a wah. We'll on and we'll march to Carlisle Hall. We it's gets and it's muckets and all, we're 100. I inadvertently got a wrong word in there. I was thinking of a certain area of Scotland called the Yetzer-Mucket, and it should have been its Yetz and its castle and all, but I just put the Yetzer-Mucket in there, and I hope that the people
who live there
won't be annoyed that I put it into the wrong song.
Yes, 3 marks there, and a song for and from Frank.
Stars begin to flicker in the gloom. In the midst of a memory, you back to me. Deep purple gloom.
Frank disappeared inside his own collar when he was thinking. 3 marks there, why not? And that gives us a final score. I'm afraid we have to end here. David Franklin and Frank Muir win by just 1 mark. Goodbye.
Taking part in My Music were David Franklin, Frank Muir, Denis Norden and Ian Wallace. Graham Dalley was at the keyboard and the chairman was Steve Gray. questions were compiled by Edward J. Mason, and the program was produced in London by Tony Schreier.